right, friends, hello and welcome to Premium Light Academy Behind the Scenes. Every once in a while, we like to take a minute to sit down and discuss topics that are happening in the creative ecosphere. My name is Lewis. I'm here with JT and Ashley. We are, of course, Premium Light Academy. We provide photography education to anyone who is interested in learning how to use your camera or get a little bit more creative inspiration in your life. Now, today's topic is one that is on pretty much everybody's mind: artificial intelligence, and probably more specifically, will AI destroy photography as we know it? I know that there are a lot of people out there who are concerned about how powerful this new software is becoming. Literally anybody can sit down at a keyboard, type in a prompt, and generate an absolutely beautiful image. Now, when AI first hit the scene, it kind of started off as more of a chat bot. You had something called ChatGPT, and you could say, hey, write me a college essay that'll get me into Harvard. And the robot would literally spit out a beautifully written college essay. You go through, kind of change some of the details to make them more your own. And then just like that, you've essentially, I don't know, can we even call it plagiarizing? You've artificially generated a whole bunch of writing that can pretty much stand up to a lot of really good writing these days. Now, that technology quickly made its way into the visual arts world, and we now have a whole number of different AI softwares that have the ability to generate beautiful images out of nowhere. Now, when this stuff first came out, it was a little bit janky, it was a little bit weird. It came up with like weird, drippy looking people with contorted hands and messed up faces and all that kind of stuff. So if you've ever seen some of the early AI artwork, it was pretty terrifying. But in a few short months, that artwork has been tightened up into some very, very beautiful illustration work, and you can create literally photorealistic images. And this is causing a lot of contention in the photography world. So I want to kind of kick things off. We'll open up the floor, let you guys chat a little bit about AI in general, and then we're going to hone in on our topic: is this going to destroy photography as we know it? So what do we got, guys?
Oh, so do you guys remember, it was a while back, probably maybe 2-3 years ago, Google released this, like, it was almost like MS Paint, where you could draw, green boxes and gray triangles, and it would turn it into like a photorealistic landscape looking image based off of images taken from Google Images. And this was like the first janky, AI, and you can draw a bunch of squiggles and you turn it into almost a realistic photo. So as you were talking about that, I just kind of remembered that. I forgot about that for a long time. I don't remember the name of it. But that was kind of the first janky little AI landscape tool.
Yeah, I think that brings up a good point, because artificial intelligence, for those of you who maybe aren't really up on the technology, the way that it works, especially for the image generating software, is you type in a prompt and you say, hey, make me a picture of a raccoon eating a hot dog. And the AI goes out onto the internet and it collects all images or instances of what you just typed in. It gets thousands upon thousands of photographs and paintings of raccoons, and it gets thousands upon thousands of pictures of hot dogs. And the algorithm smushes all that stuff together and it generates a completely new, artificially generated, computer-generated image. And the image is unique. It's not like it's just copying and pasting a raccoon picture. It's actually taking those visual assets and using them as resources and then generating all new artwork. So it's not plagiarism. It's a reference software. And to JT's point, that reference software, that Google obviously has an enormous, a vast digital warehouse of images, and now, more to JT's point, landscapes, to where Google Earth has compiled almost the entire surface of our planet to where it can use that as references to generate landscape images. So it's almost like no photography genre is safe, right? If you're a landscape photographer and you travel all across the world, and you take pictures of the Eiffel Tower and, the Grand Canyon and the Maroon Bells here in Colorado, and then all of that information is already compiled in Google, either through pictures that people have taken or by satellite imagery that Google Earth has generated. And so basically the AI has the capability to just swoop in, use all of that reference information that's out there on the internet, and gen up beautiful images just like that. So again, that brings us back to the point. Is this going to kill photography as we know it?
Well, I think it's important to think about the use cases as well, because when photography was invented, the use case that we were given, at least, is this is for memories. This is going to capture an image, and this is for memories. This is your life. This is you being able to look back on your life years later and capture that moment. I think now we're seeing it's more about a product or selling something with social media and dancing for these algorithms. And so we're no longer going into reality, and this is memories. This is like, who do you want to appear on the internet? Because you can make now, instead of buying some outfit and spending money, I can just completely render myself into whatever I want. But then also that's not real. And what am I, at the end of the day, then what is my story and what am I selling? And so it's almost like, what is the use case of photography and why are we taking these photos? Because the entire culture around it has shifted.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. And I think it brings up another point in that, I mean, initially we're still in the early phases of AI and how it develops. I think that wedding photographers started to get a little scared. They're like, I mean, I guess, James and Sally could just take a couple of iPhone snaps of themselves and use those as reference pictures, and then artificial intelligence could just generate an entire wedding, a beautiful wedding in Tuscany, based on a couple of pictures. Okay, so number one, why hire a wedding photographer? Why pay thousands of dollars for a wedding photographer? And that can go to literally any genre that you can think of. Why hire a portrait photographer? Why hire a senior pictures photographer? Why hire a headshot photographer? Why spend that money when one tiny little iPhone snap and then a $15 a month software can generate these incredible images of you? So to that effect, I think that we're going to, back to the original question, will AI destroy photography as we know it? As we know it, yes. I think it is in the process of doing that. And as it becomes more advanced, we're going to see a lot of photographers who were making money off of this as a lifestyle. They're going to see a lot of their business drying up because, I mean, why would anyone pay $650 to get senior pictures done by a professional photographer when 3 iPhone snaps and $15 worth of software can generate beautiful images? So that's kind of the crux that we're looking at here. I think that the professional photography industry is really looking at a major change in the paradigm of how people make money with their cameras.
Now, along what you're saying, so actually, I think it was last night or this morning, Petapixel just did an article. There was a girl that was trying to do headshots. She was in college, trying to get her own headshots done. And there was that app that we were talking about, I believe, last week or 2 weeks ago, Remini, which you can take 3 or 4 different angles of yourself, and it will develop, 5 or 6 different headshots, however many headshots. And you don't even need a headshot photographer, and it looks pretty darn good. Well, so there was a little bit of backlash a day or two ago. There was an Asian girl that did that, and the images that she received back were of a white girl. So
AI is racist.
Right. So now it supposedly was supposed to take her face and put it, maybe on someone else's body, but she also got someone else's face with it. So we are still hitting these obvious road bumps in the new, this new frontier, I guess, that we're in. We're in something completely different. This isn't the same as, I know we talked about before, this isn't the same as, film to digital or analog to digital. We are in something completely different. This isn't a new tool necessarily. This isn't a process. This is something that's taking over, and it's taking away versus a tool to help, to make us better, to make our lives easier. It's taking away the easy thing from us, create art. Whereas I'm still having to take out my trash. I want AI to take out my trash so I can do the art.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, it's in the past there have been a lot of major disruptions to the photography and to the creative world. the film camera replaced the paintbrush. Didn't replace, but added to the paintbrush. And then years later, the digital camera replaced the film camera. And in all those instances, we're just swapping tools around, right? But now AI is starting to remove the human creator out of it. It's like, hey, forget about tools. We don't even need people anymore. And so that's kind of what's a little bit scary, and that's what got people. That's what's got people a little bit concerned about this. So, okay, it's interesting that you brought up. I'm sorry, Ashley, go ahead.
I mean, you both kind of brought up the same sort of thing, and maybe that's why it was created in the first place. Was we were meant to, like, the powers that be want us to be replaced with AI, and that we're going to have to fight for the ability for the AI to be doing the trash taking out, or the labor that we don't want to be doing, maybe farming, and then us be doing the actual artwork that is the human experience and sharing and storytelling and memories and capturing memories.
Yeah, so that brings up a really good point, and that's a point that in all the AI discussions that I have had throughout the past year or so, as this stuff becomes more prevalent, I feel like as much as AI may come and crash the photography business and shake up the photography business, it's not going to destroy photography as a whole, because people still use the camera as a vehicle to gain experiences, right? I'm a landscape nerd. I love going to real places, going to real waterfalls, real mountains, real hiking, like real life experience, things that cannot be sort of substituted with artificial intelligence or virtual reality or any of that stuff. I mean, so I feel like the camera, photography in general, will always be a means for people to go out and gain real world experiences, which is the one thing that AI cannot take away from us. Now, real world experiences, 99% of my experience in that has been I pay for that, right? I'm going on vacation, or I go to a place that I've always wanted to hike, travel, visit, experience. So, as far as the money changing hands, I don't know that photographers are going to get paid as much as they used to, but photography as we know it, cameras in hands with people walking in boots out on location, that will probably never change. At least I hope it will never change. We'll have to see how good virtual reality gets after that. I mean, eventually you're going to get to where you just sit on your couch and you could visit Paris, the Grand Canyon, Versailles, whatever you want, and you never have to leave your house. And at that point, I don't know, that's a whole different discussion. That's a whole different rabbit hole. But anyway, okay, I have a quick slideshow for us. I have a quick show and tell. JT mentioned earlier that a young lady put some pictures into AI and accidentally got herself back as the wrong race. But that kind of slightly folds into what we're working on here next. But I do have a cool slideshow where we did. Let's bring this up real quick and we can start talking about it. Just a second. Let's share the screen. So we're a little new to the software still, trying to figure this stuff out. But let's go. Here we go. Okay, so a little while back, the three of us went out and we engineered a kind of a cosplay photo shoot of sorts. We kind of raided the costume box and turned Ashley into a bit of a samurai. And we did this because the cherry blossoms in Colorado Springs are absolutely spectacular when they blow up in May and April. And so we had a really, really great year of blossoms, and we wanted to take advantage of the real life environment. So this is in fact a real photograph, and it's not generated by AI. It is actually Ashley standing on a ladder in the middle of a bunch of crabapple blossom trees. Bless you. And so we shot these images for real. And this was actually a little bit before AI was starting to generate real good-looking people. So just to kind of run through a couple of these, I mean, we have white cherry blossoms, we have red cherry blossoms. We shot a whole bunch of different setups all around town. And each of these images does have a fair amount of, I would say, post-production work in them. And we kind of added some robes and things, and, we really kind of tuned them up so that they look beautiful. But for the most part, they are, in fact, real images. I mean, a gust of wind came through and blew the ribbons all around. And, I mean, we actually have video of all of this, too, which is really cool. I was looking at JT's images here, and I noticed that in the top left of the white picture, how the sun is kind of like coming through, and I thought that was just really, really crazy. My camera, which is an ancient camera, never would have been able to resolve any of that information in the back there. Just a sidebar. I use old cameras. JT's always got the highest, latest tech, but
well, anyway. that fill flash is really what saved me.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All of JT's images had fill flash, and mine were just flat light. You can tell, like, these two are from JT, and you can see how there's so much more depth. There's a great deal of shadow kind of happening in the red image where all the light on Ashley's face is perfect, and then you just got this sort of sense of three-dimensional depth traveling back into the image, and that's because the fill flash is creating a differential between natural light from the sun and actual light on Ashley, whereas if we look at mine is very flat. This is all natural light, no reflectors, no nothing. So the light on Ashley is very similar to the light in the rest of the scene. But anyway, we digress. That's a quick little photo lesson for free. So flashes, fill flash gives you a little bit of extra kind of three-dimensional punch, whereas natural light, maybe not so much, but either way has its cool merits. So anyway, we have these images here, and I started thinking, all right, this is a real photo shoot. Let's see how this compares to artificial intelligence. And so I started generating a couple of AI images. You just kind of type in, hey, make me a samurai warrior in a cherry blossom field. And the images that come up are actually really darn good. I would consider any of these to be artwork that I would be proud to have shot for real. Granted, it would probably be pretty difficult to be able to pull this off for real. I mean, this would be a major production because, this is the type of stuff to where, the image on the left, you've got sunlight coming in from behind, which means you'd have to have huge amounts of fill reflectors kind of going in on the right-hand side, and then the whole scene is full of these blossoms, and there's this smoke filling the air, this beautiful fog all over the place. And so it's just, this would take a huge production to be able to do in real life. And as we kind of cycle through some of these images, they all have this sort of mystic fantasy quality about them. And all of this would be, like I say, pretty difficult to pull off in real life. Not impossible, but even the costumes alone, I mean, AI is really good at generating costumes, and this is the kind of stuff that would probably cost you a huge amount of money if you were actually really trying to produce these costumes in real life.
Go back a couple slides real quick.
It took us 4 people. It took us 4 people to come up with what we came up with. So to come up with that, we need hair, makeup, wardrobe, location, like so many. We would need like 15 to 20 people probably to produce something like that. And it would cost a fortune. Yeah, although it did take real skills. Because like this. Here we go.
So look at this one. I believe it's on my left. You see her 2 arms and then her 1 hand in the middle coming out of...
Yep. Got a fake floating hand, a magical hand in there.
Oh, right. Yeah, just want to. AI is good, but we have some floating hands.
Yeah, it's still working out the hand situation. I mean, you tend to get disjointed hands, and sometimes the hands have 7 or 10 fingers, and it's still a little weird. But at the same time, I would not discount this image as a goofy-looking, funny computer shot. I mean, it's still a very beautiful image. But yeah, that's definitely a good thing. And when AI first came out, it just couldn't get any of that stuff right, and it created like weird, drippy melted wax horror figures. Everybody looked like a melting doll from that Indiana Jones movie where the guy drinks from the the wrong Holy Grail and he melts right in front of your face. So, but again, now the stuff is really quite good, and to Ashley's point, this right here to make this in real life would cost a lot of not cost, but it would require a lot of creative individuals and a lot of money. And if artificial intelligence can generate this in just a few seconds, man, oh man, like production companies, places that are looking to do advertisements or make movies or any of that kind of stuff, they're going to be taking a strong look at this and saying, why am I going to hire all these people when just a few seconds of this software can give me these beautiful images? So that, again, I think is where we start to run into the scary part for photographers. So here's kind of a little bit of a side-by-side. This is on the left is one of our actual images that we shot for real, and on the right we have an image that was produced by AI. And I would consider them to be pretty on par. I mean, honestly, the AI person has what would be several hundred, if not thousands of dollars worth of custom leather armor, which I don't have that in my costume box. I got a bathrobe, I think, and a like a fake Jedi cloak that the girlfriend sewed up, and some yards medical of ribbon, So the amount of money, that would have to go into this in order to generate that for real is already just a no-brainer right there. So anyway, AI versus, and I think in the future we will definitely do a lot more of these. AI versus real life, and you can kind of talk about the merits of each. But I think we are, of course, steadily starting to see an era where it's going to be harder and harder to compete against these computers. They are really tough right now.
Yeah, especially I think this is kind of, stock photography has been, I don't want to call it quite dead. There's still people that make a little, 2 or 3 pennies off of stock photography, but this might be the nail in the coffin that ends stock photography altogether. It is such a saturated market already. Everything has been photographed. Other than, newsworthy events that you're going to sell to like AP or something like that. So I think news photography is still relevant, but stock may be dead. You can generate whatever you want, and without like very careful examination, it can be hard to tell what's real and what's not.
Yeah, and you may even have to wonder, it's like all of the stock sites now are likely filled with AI images. People go on and they shop through the AI stuff, and then eventually even that's going to go away, because anyone, and this is the crux, any person with no training, no education, no discipline, no talent, no nothing, can type a few words into a computer and get the image that you see on the right. And so we've literally leveled the playing field. We've wiped out all need for talent, experience, education, work ethic. All that is out the door. We've leveled the playing field so much that I think that's probably the scariest part for the professional industry right there.
Work ethic and ethics in general. What's the ethics of, I don't think we were recording yet, but the ethics of throwing someone's face on someone else's body?
Right.
That brings us to the next part of our discussion as we continue down our slideshow. Oh, well, first, we got to take a quick break. We did use AI to generate our AI spirit animals. So JT is a honey badger. Let's see here. Ashley is a raven in a mystical forest, of course.
Perfect.
Lewis is a raccoon who is apparently always on fire, but that's actually fairly accurate if you look at the way life goes sometimes. But anyway, these are all generated by AI, and if I just type in create a high-tech raccoon in a firestorm, and it comes up with a photorealistic image of what that would look like. So, I mean, we're doomed. We don't stand a chance against this stuff.
I feel like it's going to have the opposite effect eventually, because I feel like all of us are kind of a little disgusted with social media, the way Instagram is mostly just ads. We don't like the fakeness of it. So if we become saturated all sides with that, I think people are going to start valuing real experiences and documenting them, because I would feel like such a loser if my great grandkids were like, let me see a picture of your wedding, and it was AI generated and not real, and it wasn't a real memory. It wasn't me and my husband and our guests at our wedding. That would be almost embarrassing. It would almost be there's certain things that you just want for memories that I think is going to draw people back into the real world and say, hey, everything on TV is fake, even more than it was, and this doesn't resonate with me at all. And I think it'll force people back into real life.
Yeah, I would like to think that this will generate sort of a faction of people who are not going to tolerate the fake, that they only want the real stuff. I would like to think that. When photography switched from film to digital, we had a couple of holdouts who were purists in the film world, and now those folks are a little bit more few and far between right now. This is a lot more prevalent. This is all people everywhere. Photography ultimately is kind of it's not a small niche. It's ever since things went digital, everybody's into photography now, but back in the film days, photographers were kind of a much smaller niche than they are now. But yeah, I think we're going to get breakouts. We're going to have an enormous number of people, young people now, who could not give a crap where their images, where their entertainment, where their family history. They don't give a shit where any of that stuff comes from, because they've grown up with a screen in front of their face. They're just scrolling through. They need that latest hit of dopamine, and that's all they care about. They don't care where their information comes from. They don't care whether it's real or fake. But I would like to say, to Ashley's point, that I would like to say that we will have some holdouts who will still appreciate the real world. Who knows where the future will go? I'm not entirely sure. All right, we got to move things along just a little bit more. I'm going to scroll down through. Okay, so this is Ashley's spirit animal. All right, here's Lewis on fire. And then, okay, so back to the idea that you can hijack anyone's likeness with a few keystrokes into the computer. it does, you can see where ethically that could start to present a bit of a problem, because right now, I would say celebrities are the beginning. They're the tip of the iceberg. You know, celebrities, there's a lot of information out there on them. We have thousands, if not millions, of pictures of Donald Trump. Pick any politician, actor, celebrity, you know, sports figure. You can type a few quick words into the computer and get just about anything you want from celebrities. Now, celebrities do kind of have public lives. Like, they're out there, they make millions of dollars, they have very, very, very public lives, they have publicists, they have all these things. So, you know, as much as they want to try to pretend to be private people, I suppose they can to a degree, but ultimately they are public figures. And at this point, no one is stopping anyone from creating a Donald Trump or any political figure and putting them into any picture that they want. And so you can start to see, here we have Kate Beckinsale, right? Super huge action star. Type a few quick words in. On the left, she's a Viking. On the right, she's a pirate. And it takes literally no discipline whatsoever. I didn't get permission from her or from her publicist. I mean, these are not copywritten images. There's no way that, there's just so many millions of these images out there. There's no way that any lawyer or anybody could go and like sue everybody for being like, no, you can't use that likeness without paying it. So we're going to see a whole new world of kind of like personal likeness, copyright law. I don't know, something.
I wonder what the legislation will be like, because at the beginning of photography as we knew it, there probably weren't laws until there was predatory stuff happening, and then they were like, hey, you need permission to use someone's likeness and then make money off of it. Someone had to then, you know, say, hey, this isn't right. So I'm sure eventually we're going to have that battle.
Yeah, that went both ways, actually. Back for a while there, you know, you would have photographers who would go and shoot people on a red carpet or whatever, and then the photographer ultimately would own the copyright to that image, and that image would maybe go on a Facebook post or get out there on the internet. And then the celebrity would grab a hold of that image and use it for his or her own publicity without asking the photographer permission. And you had a couple of legal battles going that way where the photographer's like, hey, I didn't give you permission to use that picture. I own the copyright. You need to pay me for that picture. And then they come back, they're like, well, it's me. It's a picture of me. It's my likeness. Why should I pay you to use a picture of me? So that was kind of a huge legal contention for a little while there. But now we're going to see a whole new world of that with the artificial intelligence. And I think the celebrities are one thing, but we're going to start to see a lot of problems as soon as you have the ability to just take a snap of anyone. And this is going to be bad. You know, for people who are mad at each other, you go on to Sally's Facebook page and you grab a screenshot of her standing there with her mom, and then you put Sally's face into an AI program, and the next thing you know, Sally is in a porno, right? Okay, yeah. So you've basically just degraded someone's character without their knowing about it, and that's where things are going to really start to get dangerous, especially when this stuff hits the general public, when regular people who are not celebrities, who do not have open public lives, when you can use AI to slander people like that, you're going to see a lot of contention happening right now. And it's just too easy to put people in a compromising position. It's too easy to say, oh yeah, Sally shoots cocaine. It's like, no, she doesn't. That's AI generated. And then you're going to start to think, my gosh, does this mean that pretty much any criminal could get away with nefarious deeds? Because like, oh, that wasn't me. I didn't shoot that guy. That's AI, you know?
Right. Well, they still will have like chain of evidence and forensics, and that you still can tell if something is generated by AI because it'll Hopefully. Show you on the back end. But that is something that will, and I wonder if creators can protect themselves legally in their own documents. Like with us, we shoot each other. So saying, hey, I own the right to my likeness, and it's IPATH, Premium Light Academy cannot be Ashley Faye on the internet, or be JT, or be you, or create some other character out of an amalgamation of any of those three, or I think creators can kind of start to take the lead and write, or even think about, hey, I'm going to be doing a deal with Disney. I need to make sure that they don't use my likeness in these ways for artists and even photographers.
Yeah, I think this gives us an opportunity to start taking an ethical high road against some of this stuff. I mean, AI is the closest thing you're going to get to plagiarism without actually being plagiarism. I mean, if a computer generates an original piece of artwork using references, it's not really plagiarism. You're not just like copying and pasting somebody else's work and passing it off as your own. But it's the next closest thing. I think we need maybe a new verb, a new word to describe what AI generated artwork is with regard to who created it really. And that's definitely for another discussion down the line. So, but these are definitely some interesting topics, and I think we'll certainly be talking a lot more about AI in the future. We've just hit our 30-minute mark. I don't want to belabor our viewers' time. Does anybody have any kind of closing remarks? Again, we'll circle back to AI and a lot more of these conversations. We got plenty of conversations coming up. I'm sure the next scandal will come out, the next new software. We haven't even talked about video. That's a whole nother thing. I mean, the minute that AI can start to generate video, we're doomed. I mean, that's forget it. Just forget it. Just sit on your couch, type in some prompts, let the AI do the work, and I don't know, catch up on your Netflix, which is also generated by AI.
Right, there's those AI beer commercials coming out now.
Oh,
they
gosh,
look terrible.
Right? They're horrifying.
They're as terrible as photo was a year or two ago.
Yes.
So what are the leaps that are going to happen?
Yeah.
The quantum leaps.
Give it 8 months, and
I'm curious if they'll lose money or if they'll make money. Like, do they work? Like, do people like the AI ads? Is it actually doing what?
They're funny.
Yeah. Right now, they're kind of a parody. They're kind of funny. You can't help but laugh at them. They're sort of like the Army of Darkness version of a movie of something, where they're just like, well, this is terrible. Let's just make fun of the whole thing. But yeah, it's the beginning of a whole new era, and we're about to see a lot of more crazy stuff. All right. Anybody have any closing remarks? Any final thoughts?
I'd like to hear about what photo tools, AI tools, photographers are threatened by, or what they're using, and what are the biggest threats out there, or the biggest assets, depending on where you fall on the argument.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Let's collect a little information. Hopefully, some of the people in the comments can ask a few questions, and that'll give us topics for the next discussion.
Cool.
Yeah, I've been using Firefly. I know, Lewis, you play around with Midjourney a little bit. I don't feel like forking over the money right this second until, I don't know. I don't know if there are so many things that are free right now. How long is this going to be free? When is all of AI just going to be behind a paywall as well? So who knows?
Yeah, and if it ever gets to be expensive, maybe some of this will slow down a little bit, and you won't have the average, no name, no talent, no history, no education person just typing stuff in and ginning up thousands of images all the time, clogging the Instagram with nothing but AI. Right. We'll see. I know there's a lot of money to be made at it all, and we'll see who gets to make that money.
And maybe a closing thought. Social media is free, so when you're not paying for something, you are the product. We're not paying for a lot of these AI things now. So what are these companies gaining? Are we the product?
We have been the product for a while. We are the product and the advertising, and we are the client and the customer somewhat simultaneously with social media. Right.
And how dystopian that we might have to pay AI to do our art for us while we work. No way, not happening.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah, we're all reduced to laboring in the field. We're all picking strawberries, right, and the AI's doing the cool artwork. All right, friends. Well, if you have joined us, thank you very much for tuning in on the conversation. I know that there are a lot of questions out there regarding artificial intelligence. So if you do have questions of your own or comments, please feel free to share them down below in the comments. We would love to hear from you. We want to keep this discussion going. I know this is a very important topic for a lot of people out there, and we want to definitely keep the ball rolling. We want to stay on top of it. Don't let yourself get blindsided by AI. If you're kind of coming off of a job and you're like, hey, and I want to try my second career as a photographer, and then lo and behold, you buy all this camera equipment and then nobody wants to hire you for anything. So it's definitely good to keep a pulse on the technology to see what's going and what's coming up next. And we'll certainly do our best to keep you informed as best we can. Again, we are Premium Light Academy. We provide photography education for anybody who is looking for inspiration. If you want to learn how to take better pictures, AI notwithstanding. So go ahead and check us out at premiumlightacademy.com. We'll be there to hopefully answer any of your camera questions, creative questions, whatever you might have. All right, are we all good here?
We'll see you in the next episode.
Yeah, we'll see you guys in the next episode. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day. Bye-bye.